My name is Gurnaam Singh. Welcome to the One Show. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. A very special One Show. बहुत ही एक विशेष one historical. Today we're going to be talking about the UK Sikh court. Rarely do, we all read history, but rarely do we have the opportunity to be part of history. But on Saturday, April the 20th, we actually were part of history. We were part of a gathering in London of Sikh legal professionals at the UK Historical Honourable Society of Lincoln's Inn for the inauguration of the UK Sikh Court. In total, 18 judges, 31 magistrates and 6 registrars swore oath of allegiance to Guru Granth Sahib and the Panth, and the ceremony was presided over Panj Pyare. As the first such court anywhere in the world, the establishment of the UK Sikh Court has been described as a historical event, as a powerful expression of Sikh self-advocacy. Punjabi khud mukhtiyari kehne hain. There have been some objections. There have been issues in social media, objections from non-Sikhs, but also Sikhs. But it's worth noting that the project itself went ahead with the blessing of the Akal Takht in Amritsar. And just to quote the Chief Judge of the Sikh Court, Barrister Baldeep Singh, in a very emotional address said, "Today we honour our fathers and forefathers who sacrificed so much, their own happiness and health, working in factories and foundries to provide us with the education and positions we all hold today. They sowed the seeds knowing that one day we might be able to do something for the betterment of the Sikh Panth. Today marks just one initiative that their labours have borne fruit." So this was the kind of emotion that was there at the court, and if you look at the background, Manjita, this was a gathering of the magistrates and the judges at the court itself, and we're going to be talking to some of the judges today, but I'll introduce them in a minute. ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਕਲਿੱਪ 2 ਮਿੰਟਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਮਨਜਿੰਦਰ ਪਾਲ ਕੌਰ, who is actually also one of the judges, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ. So this gives you a flavour of the ceremony. ਆਓ ਆਪਾਂ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਅੱਗੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਸਮਾਜ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ। There you got just a glimpse in a 2-minute clip of the proceedings, as I say, in the Lincoln's Inn field in central London, which is the centre of the legal profession in this country. We have all the big courts there, all the High Court and the Supreme Court of the UK. So we're going to introduce our guests, Manjit, and who all of them are intimately involved with the establishment of the court. So they're going to help us to understand what the court's about and what work they will be doing. So may
ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ I'm going to introduce on my immediate right ਮੇਰੀ ਭੈਣ Dr. Dalveer Kaur Gill, PhD. Dr. Gill specialises in early childhood studies and has held various academic posts in the UK. She played a key role in writing the response to the Bloom report and is closely involved both with the Sikhs in law as a newly appointed magistrate, but also Sikhs in academia as well. Next to Dalveer, we have Barrister Baldeep Singh. Baldeep was called to the bar of the Inner Temple in 2013, and he has practiced family law since. And he is the chair of the Sikhs in law, and also is the chief judge of the UK Sikh Court. Baldeep Denali, Mary Pan Gursharan Kaur. Gursharan is a senior manager in NHS consultancy with a strong track record in commissioning and public health. She is a practicing coach and mentor, and Gursharan is the chair of the Sikhs in Healthcare, a professional network for Sikh professionals and students. And she is also one of the magistrates in the new UK Sikh Court. And last but not least, on my far right, we've got Brinderpal Kaur. She is an independent notary public and a family solicitor, Setford Solicitors. She is practicing family law since admission in 1997 and a notary public, and she is one of the judges of the UK Sikh Court. So मैं साਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੈ ਆਖਦਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਬਲਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਇਸਟੈਬਲਿਸ਼ਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ UK 'ਚ UK Sikh Court ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ, ਥੋੜੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਕਰੋ।
Sure. Well, like all communities in England, the Sikh community has its own legal issues, battles in the legal court system. Whether that be civil disputes, Gurdwara disputes, or family law disputes, child arrangements and how finances are divided on separation. What we did notice that during those hearings, a significant amount of money is being spent on litigation, particularly Gurdwara disputes. I was told of a costs order of £500,000 being spent to deal with a Gurdwara dispute just for one party. That's Sangat money. Yeah. That's money that can be spent on the youth and the next generation and Sikhi camps. And that's been squandered in legal fees. So that costs issue was one of the reasons. But I think, moreover, is the language and cultural and religious understanding in courts. The English courts have tried very hard to accommodate these aspects. But of course, there's cost implications for those too. So for interpreters, for example, a couple that might not speak English very well would have to go to court, and the interpreter is only booked for the hearing, not beforehand. So when they try and speak to their barrister, they may not be able to speak the language with them. So they only get the assistance of an interpreter inside court. And equally with religious experts, so when it's a case issue, whether it's a Qur'an issue, the upbringing of a child, it's not inherent that a judge would know about the religious sensitivities around making decisions like that. They do try their best. But because the parties can't afford a religious expert or someone that can give expert advice to the court has to make a decision without that information. So a key motivator for setting up the Sikh Court is to provide a place for resolution, particularly those sort of disputes where cultural and religious sensitivities are key in making parties feel at ease. And the British legal system has long encouraged parties to resolve their disputes by way of alternative dispute resolution, which is a framework we operate under.
ਕਿਵੇਂ ਜੀ ਸਮਰਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਈ ਐਸੇ ਮਸਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੋ ਪੱਖ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਡਿਸਪਿਊਟਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੋਰਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਬੜਾ ਖਰਚ, ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ $500,000 ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸੰਗਤ ਦਾ ਪੈਸਾ ਵੇਸਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੋਚ ਇਹੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਸੇਵਾ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਨਾਲੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਬਚਾਉਂਗੇ, ਨਾਲੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀਪ ਆਊਟ ਆਫ ਦ ਕੋਸਟਸ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਤਾਂ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਇਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ there could be lots of different cases. ਇੱਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕਈ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਲਿਸਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ।
ਬਲਦੀਪ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰਿੰਸੀਪਲ Sikh courts ਕੀ ਆ?
Key underlying principles of the court.
Well, We operate under mediation and arbitration. So the MEDARB structure, Rindapal Kaur will cover that.
We'll come to that later, yeah.
But the key principles are Sarbat Dapala, compassion and daya, and understanding, samjhauta, aspects of keeping the Sikh community together rather than being divisive. And I'm afraid to say, even as lawyers, when lawyers get involved, samjhauta to bahut ghat hi hundi hai.
That's true, yeah.
So I think those are the key reasons and the principles that we apply when we set up the Sikh court, and the principles that we apply in decision making as well.
And just one more thing, I did mention that you've got the Akal Takht behind. Just tell me about the kind of support that you've had from the Akal Takht.
So the Akal Takht, we wrote to them, I think I've sent you the letter. We wrote to them explaining what we're trying to do. We spoke to them on the phone, and they were really supportive of this initiative. And in their letter, rightly so, they say that there is no court higher than that of Sri Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji and the Akal Takht. But in terms of the work we're trying to do, to keep the Sikh community together, do samjhauta, to do this good work, they said it was a great initiative and wished us Chardi Kalan success in it.
Okay.
Brindapal, would you like to come in? Because you wanted to pick up something.
Yes, Hanji. Jira Sata Court, the framework, it is under the MEDARB, or mediation to arbitration, the abbreviation, and that is the framework it will operate under. ਉਹ two stage process ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਨਾ mediation ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ option ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ mediation ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ court ਦੇ magistrates are they will do the mediation. You could have, for example, 10 issues, and in mediation you might be able to agree 4 or 5. There may be some others that you can't agree on. The next stage is arbitration. So then the judge will hear the case and make a decision on the points that are not resolved.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a two-stage process, but the key is that both parties have to agree we are going to follow this process. So you can't have one user saying, oh, I'm going to use the Sikh court. Both of you have to agree, and you have to sign up to an agreement, and you also have to understand it will be legally binding, the decision that's made at the end.
That's right. We'll come back to that.
Does anyone else want to pick up anything from here? No?
Just to add, the MEDARB process is really widely used in Singapore.
Right.
Rarely, So it's
this is an international principle.
The structure. So we have in this country, we have mediation. We know about that. But not many people properly engage in it. You know, sometimes we play lip service that you have to go to mediation, but they don't properly engage. Or you can go to arbitration. But the MEDARB process melds together both. And that works in our situation because the magistrates are non-legal. So they are upstanding members of the community that we would have in the English courts, for example. So you've got Dr. Dravir Kaur, you've got Banji Gusharan Kaur. So they're upstanding members of the community, professionals that can apply their worldly knowledge and Sikhi knowledge to help come to some sort of resolution between the parties. If there are matters that are left in dispute, they can go in front of a judge who's legally trained to make a binding decision.
Can I just want to bring Gushan in here as well, because in reference to the Akal Takht, and the Akal Takht obviously gave it a seal of, I wouldn't say it was a seal of approval, but it gave it an encouraging kind of note. But it also gave a warning: don't try to usurp Panthak kind of mechanisms. But some people might say that the Panji Pyare is that we've got the principle of Panji Pyare to do the kind of this arbitration work. That's a long established principle. So how is this is it going to complement that? Is it going to replace that? Is it going to add to that? Hanji.
So ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਕੋਰਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਗੱਲ ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਕੋਈ ਮਸਲੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਈ ਬਜਰ ਕੁਰੈਤ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਅਕਾਊਂਟੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਰੀਮੇਟ ਆ ਨਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਰੀਮੇਟ ਲਾਈ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ This is a court where ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆਪਣਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਕੋਰਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਘਰੇਲੂ ਇਸ਼ੂ family issues civil disputes like Baldeep said about the Gurdwara issues ਹੈ ਨਾ
ਨਹੀਂ
So
ਪੰਥ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਆ
Civil-
Oh, right, I thought it.
yeah no
So
the whole
civil-
point is this isn't going to take on religious issues yeah
civil and family है ना I think that's the
Right.
clear way to put it है ना
Yes.
कोई religious issues नहीं because ਜਿਹੜੇ
That's
ਪੰਜਾਂ
good.
ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ
Yeah.
remit ਆ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ remit ਆ
ਠੀਕ
this
ਹੈ।
is not a religious court so we want
That's
to
good to
make that
clarify.
absolutely
Yeah.
clear है ना so not a religious court and the easiest way to remember this is if you will take an issue to the English court that can come to the Sikh court that's the easiest way to remember है ना ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਪੇਸ਼ ਹੋਣਾ ਆ
ਜੀ, ਜੀ।
ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ that will not be ever acceptable in the
ਪਰ
Sikh
ਇੱਕ
court
ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਬਲਦੀਪ ਐਨੀਬਾਡੀ ਕੈਨ ਕਮ ਇਨ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਡਿਸਪਿਊਟ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਡਿਸਪਿਊਟ
ਜੀ,
ਨਾ
ਜੀ, ਜੀ।
ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਕਪਲ ਦਾ ਡਿਵੋਰਸ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ
Yeah.
ਤੇ ਉਹ ਛੋਟਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੇਸ ਰੱਖੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ
ਇੱਕ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ
ਇੱਕ
ਨਹੀਂ
ਕਹੂਗਾ
ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ case।
ਮੈਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਕੇਸ ਕੱਟਣੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਰੱਖਣੇ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਓਗੇ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਕੋਲ where would the books
deals
stop
I
at?
think
Yeah.
that it goes back to if the couple sign the agreement that they want to file that issue in the Sikh court
Yeah.
because that's not a religious matter specifically you can say है ना that can be filed in an English court as well possibly ਪਰ ਜੇ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਜਣੇ agree ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ Sikh court ਨੂੰ matter ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਸਮਝੌਤਾ ਕਰਾ ਦੇਣ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ
ਠੀਕ
ਤੇ
ਹੈ,
ਹੈ ਨਾ
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ।
ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਫਾਈਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਜਣਾ ਚਾਹੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੋਹਰੇ ਪੇਸ਼ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਇਸ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਟਸ ਅਪ ਟੂ them
ਪਰ
so they have that
ਸਮਝੌਤਾ ਕਿਸੇ
responsibility
ਬੇਸਿਸ ਤੇ
है ना?
ਕਰਨਾ ਪਊਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ
So if
ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਤੇ ਹੋਊਗਾ
Oh,
ਹਾਂਜੀ
If I can just add to that point,
Yeah.
then the question you're asking is what happens when a couple
Ji.
have a difference of opinion on religious
exactly
interpretation.
as how they're bringing up their child. I've been dealing with that for 11 years now.
So you got
So
really good
when I
experience.
first dealt with my first case of a Sikh couple that have now separated, Singh wanted the case to be kept
Yeah.
and the mother didn't.
Didn't, yeah.
Now the mother's not going to the Panch Pyare, is she?
No.
That doesn't become an issue for the Panch Pyare to have to necessarily deal with.
Yeah.
They may try, but that's only if she respects them enough
Yeah,
to
yeah.
go there,
Yeah.
having cut her own hair, for example.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So in those cases, when I first started off 11 years ago, it was really sad because I probably lost those cases
Okay. Yeah.
significantly because the court would say that the person who has primary
Custody,
care
the custody.
of the child,
Yeah.
so we don't use the term custody anymore,
Okay.
so the child, who the child lives with the most,
Right.
they get to make that sort of
Precedent.
So
decision.
make that choice.
So often
Yeah.
that would be the mother.
Yeah.
Now, if the mother is saying, "Oh, I can't keep the child's case; it's too hard to wash,
Yeah.
to comb, to do a batka every day," it was really difficult to persuade the court to change that position.
Yeah.
A few years into that, I had a client that had some money.
Yeah.
So he was a wealthy client,
Right.
and I was talking to him, and I said, "Well, you know, sometimes in other types of cases, we get nannies in. Do you think you could pay for a bibi or someone to go in every day
Yeah.
to do this kid's juda?"
Right.
And he agreed, and I went into court, and the court does respect religion.
Yeah.
You know,
That's really
we're
good
not
to
here
hear.
to say
Yeah.
that the English courts do not apply religious
'Cause we do think
considerations.
like
Well,
that.
the Children
Yeah,
Act
it's good
does
to hear
actually
that.
Yeah, of course
require
it does.
religion to
Under
be-
the Children Act, the welfare checklist, the child's upbringing, religious customs are taken into account. It is a factor. But in that situation, I was able to persuade a judge to say that actually she's saying that it's difficult to comb the kid's hair. My client's going to pay 20-30 pounds for a bibi to go in every day
Yeah.
to do a jura. Let's preserve this child's religion.
Yeah.
And the
Makes
judge
sense.
agreed with me because the mother had no argument to combat that. So those kind of disputes, again, if both couple believe in the way that we've set up the court, that we are independent and impartial, they will come to the
And they can
court,
work,
and
yeah.
these are decisions we can help them with to come to some jodha.
Yeah. And the resolution was quite a creative and practical resolution
Absolutely.
rather than based on some religious doctrine.
You've
yeah.
got to think
Yeah.
outside the box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nabil, I think you're itching to come in
Yeah,
as well. So I'll let you.
Obviously, want to just support everything that's said. But I think it's really important to remember that the Sikh court had a real clear vision. And everything that has been already said, but the vision of the Sikh court is to be a trusted
Yeah.
and proven forum for resolving disputes between members of the Sikh community. And so we hope that the Sikh court will be used not just for family matters and also for to hear general civil matters and disputes as well. So as the judges and magistrates gain experience, we can also see a role to bring in collective expertise of a Sikh court to bear on other legal issues facing the community.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Well, you know, sort of other civil matters in community, not just necessarily just family matters, in a more advisory, school advice.
Sikh children in schools?
Yeah, Sikh children maybe racism and advisory.
Well, safeguarding,
education.
that's exactly right. So the topic that, or the remit that would come under, is the inquiry aspect of the court. So when it's been alleged that something wrong has happened in the community, then we would invite both parties, if they both agree, to come and present their evidence. One of the biggest issues in our community is trial by social media. No one's got any evidence of anything, but one post, one message absolutely goes viral, and everyone jumps on the bandwagon because everyone loves gossip. So we want to nip that in the bud to say, both of you have a fair hearing. What do you have to say? What do you have to say? Applying English law, the burden and standard of proof, and coming to a decision, giving recommendations whether or not that person
Can I just one
did.
more clarification? We're talking about civil law, not criminal law here.
Correct.
The Sikh court has no remit whatsoever in
That's
criminal
right.
law cases.
So we don't do criminal inquiries or investigations. We don't deal with matters under the Mental Capacity Act, or where there's severe safeguarding issues, or employment disputes. And it is key to highlight, it's only when both parties consensually agree that the matter can come before the Sikh court.
As Dalveed said, as the vision of the court could be, as it builds its own expertise and authority, then the criminal courts could defer to the authority in terms of as an expert witnesses.
No, legally not allowed.
You can't. Okay.
No.
Okay.
So our focus really for now at the moment is delivering court ADR, you know, alternative dispute resolution. But we are excited, I think, you know, to explore further opportunities as they arise. But it is, you know, the core is about ADR.
And just to add to that, so there is, like Baldeep said, clear exclusion criteria, and that's to help the Sangat, hai na? So it's very much in place to actually guide people who might be considering the Sikh court, whether they qualify, you know, and meet the criteria to submit an application or not, when both parties might agree. hai na?
ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਦਰਸ਼ਕ ਸਮਝਣ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਲੀਗਲ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਟਾਈਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਟੇਰੀਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੇਸ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਾਇਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਕੀਲ ਕਰੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੇਸ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੇਸ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਉੱਥੇ ਲੈਣਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੇਸ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਵਕੀਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਾ ਪਊਗਾ
ਦਲਬੀਰ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਣਾ ਜੇ ਤੀਵੀਂ ਆਦਮੀ ਅਣਬਣ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ it gets to stage of the domestic violence,
like divorce proceedings,
like something like that. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ deal ਕਰਦੇ?
I think that's probably
I can pick up that one.
We're picking up in
Sure. ਉਹ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ safeguarding ਦਾ issue ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ domestic violence ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ the court will have you know high regard for safeguarding procedures and policies and we will have you know very clear safeguarding protocols. There will be a designated safeguarding lead ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਤੇ adults ਲਈ ਵੀ vulnerable adults ਲਈ ਹੈ ਨਾ and ਸਾਨੂੰ local protocols ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ
safeguarding boards ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ mesh system ਹਰ multi-agency
so could you have a Sikh court maybe presence in the MASH? Could that be something?
So the protocols we are setting up at the moment ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ safeguarding ਦਾ severe issue ਪਹਿਲਾਂ application ਤੇ pick up ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡਾ exclusion criteria ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ application accept ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈਗੀ because it's severe safeguarding issues and they need to follow different protocols for that but ਜੇ ਕੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹੋ ਕਿ hearing ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ safeguarding ਕੋਈ ਮਤਲਬ ਅਸੀਂ pick up ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ issue ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ disclose ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈਗਾ application ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ MASH protocol follow karunge and we will make referrals to external agencies jithe load hove
because we simply don't have any punishment power that's not
but we will come to that later on I just want to move us on a bit about around the setting up of the court and believe me thonu puchuna
Because one of the, in fact, one of the concerns that has been expressed in media, social media, and other spaces, and also been expressed by prominent Sikhs as well, is that this is like an equivalent of a Sharia court, and that really, Sikhi has nothing to do with these kind of things.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to pick that one up, Baldeep. Is this a Sikh equivalent
Yeah.
of the Sharia courts that operate in England?
Kushanko.
So, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ, this is not a religious court. So we are going to make that extremely explicitly clear. So we cannot have that comparison to the Sharia court, ਹੈ ਨਾ? Because ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ religious ਆਪਣੇ code ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, legal code ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? So it's very separate in that way, and the purpose of this court is ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਮੇਰੇ colleagues ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ, to bring those sort of communal, community and cultural sensitivities, faith sensitivities into the discussions to help the parties to come to a resolution. So it's a very clear process rakha haiga ya. So there's that distinction that this is not a Sharia type court because it's not a religious court at all.
We are not a religious court.
Yeah.
We do not replace the English courts. We do not replace interpretation of Sikhi, which is well within the remit of the Akal Takht Sahib, and we do not replace the Panj Pyare. What we do is provide a court forum where we apply Sikhi principles for a disputing
Could a
parties.
non-Sikh access this court?
Yeah, I was just going to
Yes.
come to that as well.
I think
Sikh principles of equality,
Absolutely.
justice,
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely. We were having these discussions. I mean, it's been about a year that we've been meeting in terms of the core group, setting up this court. And we were thinking whether or not the principles that we've applied and the rules that we've come up with are universal to apply to anybody. And absolutely, isn't that what Sikh is all about? There is no discrimination. If we are allowing people to speak in whatever language they want, and so long as the tribunal can understand it, that they can speak about their cultural issues, and it's affordable and quicker. Now, we haven't touched on the efficiency of the Sikh court, for example.
Well, we'll come back to the running after, but I just want to maybe now move us on to some of the kind of setting up of the congregation. I'd like to ask you, because I'm sure, I mean, I believe that, this hasn't come out overnight. You've been working on this for many months, but just give us a sense of, from concept to what we had in London a couple of weeks ago.
Hanji, sure.
To the kind of actually birth. What was the process?
Sure. So a core focus group was set up around 12 months ago, and ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ legal professionals sige, legal academics sige, whole professionals sige, non-Sikh legal professionals sige. So really inclusive group of wide sort of representative group of different professional bodies, including legals of course, and they came together to sort of explore how we can promote access to justice in a simplified manner, है ना, in a timely manner, because ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਕਿ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਲਿਸਟਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਨਾ, like you don't get your first hearing for many months. So people are stuck because they don't even know when the first hearing is going to be until they hear back from the court system, है ना. So ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪਲੋਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰਵੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, extensive surveys were undertaken, meetings were undertaken with stakeholders ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਮਤਲਬ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਸੁਧਾਰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨਾ, ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, and where the gaps are in the community kind of service provisions. All of that was taken into consideration, and then ਜਿਹੜੇ legal ਆਪਣੇ colleagues ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਫਿਰ rules develop ਕੀਤੇ court system ਦੇ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਿਆ, ਕਾਫੀ ਉਹਦੇ additions ਬਣੇ ਹੈਗੇ, as you can imagine, ਹੈ ਨਾ. So lots of iterations of those were kind of like worked upon. So like we said, it's not an overnight concept or sort of like set up. It has taken process no time lagda, and also you want to make sure the process has got good governance, है ना. So ਅਸੀਂ stakeholders ਨਾਲ open ਸੱਦਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ community organizations ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜੇ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ, and about 50 ਜਣਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ meeting attend ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ.
Who were these organizations? Were they jathebandis? Were they gurdwaras?
Just before we get to the focus group, actually, when we were speaking with the Akal Takht Sahib, what they wanted us to do was pitch the idea to pradhans. So we had a number of meetings with a number of pradhans, and in fact the letter that they sent us back does say that after consultation with various Sikh community members, that they were
ਸੋ ਇਹ
supportive.
ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦੀ ਵੀ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਦੋਸ਼ ਲਾਇਆ ਵੀ ਇਹਨੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੰਮ
ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਜਾਣੇ
ਪਰ ਆਪ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ 12 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਪੂਰੀ ਕੰਸਲਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਫੋਕਸ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਕੀਤੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਨੂੰ ਅਪਰੋਚ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਲੋਕਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਆ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਤਖਤ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਭਰੋਸਾ ਮਿਲ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਕੰਮ ਸਹੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸੋ I mean, that's actually quite a rigorous process because with Sikhs we tend to just kind of do something and then consult afterwards, don't we?
It's the other way around.
It's the other way
So
around.
again, going back to the focus group then, so
Yeah.
ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ setup ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ, rules ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋਣੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ overview present ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਨਾ, so almost 50 attendees ਹੈਗੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਸ focus group ਦੇ
From
ਵਿੱਚ,
various
various
ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ.
organizations, ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਦੇ like representatives ਹੈਗੇ ਸੀਗੇ, really good representation in that
And at the
meeting.
launch ceremony as well, there were like representatives from
Hanji.
all the kind of various.
ਸਾਰੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਸੀ
Yeah.
ਉੱਥੇ।
What did you notice?
Well, they were just quite. They were kind of. Well, you know how we tend to think about the segmentation of the Sikhs. We tend to think about the different jathebandis,
Yeah.
the main gurdwaras.
For
But
the main
it seemed like everybody
categories.
was there. Everybody was
they were
there.
collectively-
Very, kind of collective
ਸਾਰੇ
space.
ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ
And ਉਹ ਸਾਡੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਇੰਟੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਪਾਰਸ਼ਲ ਆ ਹਨਾ
Yeah.
ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ and we want to bring the community together hana and again a lot of
It's a
youth
good
were
cause,
actually
yes.
youth were
Lots of
present
youth
on
were
that
there.
call
And women, lots of women.
Lot
there.
of
And I was
women.
impressed with that. I really was very proud because you rarely see women come forward. And they were not just singing, they were ਦੂਜੇ ਵੀ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ
Yes,
involved.
very
And I
inclusive,
was
yeah.
very proud. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਸੀਗੀ that they got involved with that. Especially ਸੇਵਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ
Yeah.
ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਵੀ
Brenda, can I just bring you in here because
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦਲਵੀਰ ਸਿਉਣਾ ਕਰਨੇ ਸੀਗਾ
Yeah, I can. I mean, maybe extending on the whole setup, how the judicial team.
well, we are going to
went
come to
back-
that in a minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've got that question ready for you.
Just
don't worry.
about the point,
Yeah.
the preamble of the rules, I can read you just the last line of it. It
Please
says,
do,
let it be
yeah.
always remembered that Sikhs are one, irrespective of sex, race,
Doesn't
caste or
matter who
jata.
you are, yeah.
For we are all the children of Akal Purakh, and all Sikhs shall be offered respect and dignity with the grace of Akal Purakh.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and of course the oath that was taken ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਹੁੰ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਸੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਵੀ
ਜੀ,
ਅਸੀਂ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ।
ਸਿੱਖੀ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ
ਜੀ,
ਕੋਈ
ਜੀ।
ਪਰਸਨਲ ਹੈਗਾ Brinda, I'm going to come to you now.
Hanji.
Okay, the kind of if we think about we've said that we have the court system at the moment. We've got various courts, from the Supreme Court right down to magistrates' courts. We have family courts. We have a structure, the English court structure. So, is this an alternative to that for Sikhs?
Well, the Sikh court is an alternative dispute resolution forum to facilitate the resolution of legal disputes. Billa mediation then are for auto bath mediation the which if we can't agree. So the English legal system encourages mediation anyway. So in family cases it's compulsory unless there's a domestic violence element to undergo mediation. So
what you're saying that
yeah.
say if there's a Gurdwara dispute, the committee that we are all out,
Hanji.
and somebody goes to the courts and say, I want, they will say first of all, have you tried alternative mediation? Is that then that kind of default position?
Yes, well, sorry, are you referring to the English courts or what we
Yeah,
will
the
do in the
English
Sikh
courts.
court?
Yeah.
Yes, they do want you to attempt mediation, conciliation, yes.
And that's to save the time at the courts and save you
yes,
money.
before you issue the application, yes. And it's to avoid lengthy, costly proceedings.
And clogging up the system.
Yeah, ਇਹ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਕਈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹੀ ਸਮਝਣਾ ਵੀ ਖਰਿਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੀਗਲ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬਾਈਪਾਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਰਟਸ ਆ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਜੋ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪੈਟੀ ਡਿਸਪਿਊਟਸ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ
ਛੋਟੇ
ਡਿਸਪਿਊਟਸ
ਮੋਟੇ
ਜਾਂ ਕਮੇਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਰੌਲੇ
ਜੀ, ਜੀ।
ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੀ ਆਉਨੇ ਆ ਵੀ
Yeah.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਵੇਸਟ ਕਰਦੇ
ਨਾਲੇ
ਆ
ਪੈਸੇ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ
ਸੰਗਤ ਦਾ ਪੈਸਾ ਇਨਫੈਕਟ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀ
process ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਏ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਹੀ ਆਵੇ so in a sense you're plugging the gap
Yes, we
that
are.
exists there because they haven't got anywhere to go, have they?
Yes, the whole idea is based on the English legal system. Bhai ਪਹਿਲਾ we will try and resolve it with mediation. ਫਿਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਸ ਆ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਸਿਸਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਕੋਰਟ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ first it will be allocated to see which level of which team will deal with it. The magistrates ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ attempt ਕਰਨਾ ਪਏ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ resolve ਨੂੰ sort out ਕਰੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੁਣ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ issues ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ dispute ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਗਈਆਂ ਆ then a judge will hear the case that under the arbitration framework.
Yeah, we'll go through the process, but one more question that I want for you. I mean, was there any reason for using the terminology of, judges and magistrate? I mean, are these not protected?
No, they're not protected terms. So, ਅਸੀਂ research undertake ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ before as we were setting up the process, and it was clear that not everybody understands all the legal terms. The ਜਿਹੜੇ magistrates and judges is simple terms ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ understand ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ. That they're not protected legally, so we can use
but
them.
Isn't that creating confusion? I mean, you're not going to be proper judges or proper magistrates, are you? In the sense that we think about judges and magistrates. So wouldn't people get confused?
But a Gurdwara Pradhan, the president of the Gurdwara, is not the president of the UK, are they?
ਨਾਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਕੋਰਟ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਲੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਐਂਡ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੱਜਸ ਆ ਆਬਵੀਅਸਲੀ ਦੇ ਆਰ ਲੀਗਲੀ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਾਈਡ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸੋ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਬਰਿੰਦਰ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਸੇਮ ਅਪਰੋਚ ਅਡਾਪਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਆ ਸੋ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਸ ਆਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲਸ ਇਨ देयर ਓਨ ਫੀਲਡਸ who can apply like we said earlier ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਜਮੈਂਟ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ and help the parties work towards a resolution and of course the judges are all qualified from legal backgrounds.
Yeah, we'll come to their credentials, but one of the things, so in a sense what you're saying is that by using these titles it gives it more gravitas in the authority jadi American.
No, it's just to help.
It was easy court user friendly terminology. ਅਸੀਂ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ mediator ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, conciliator ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, arbitrator ਕੌਣ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, mediation arbitration center ਕਦੇ ਸੁਣਿਆ? No. So what terms are you familiar with? Magistrate ਪਤਾ ਕੌਣ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ? Yes. Judge ਕੌਣ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਤਾ? Yes. Court ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ? Yes. That's it. It's as simple as that. We're serving our court users in terminology that is friendly and easy for them to understand.
We are now going to look at the function and the purpose of the court now, precisely some of these.
ਦਰਬੀਰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ judges ਤੇ magistrates appointed ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ?
So after the extensive consultation process, an open recruitment process was held and advertised to inform the public of the vacancies in the Sikh court, and that was done in March 2024, last month.
I mean, some people were saying that it was very short notice.
It was short notice. It was, but that was because there was lots of discussions with the Akal Takht Sahib. There was lots of discussions with the legal professionals.
You have to go through a lot.
So,
there's lots of hoop jumps.
But there will be other rounds of recruitment.
Yeah, there was an
there'll be yearly recruitment drives.
So there was a very positive response to the recruitment drive, with large, very healthy applications received for judge, for magistrates, for registrar posts. And the judicial appointed committee comprised of 2 legal judges, 2 legal academics, and 1 lay Sikh community member. And the interviews were, again, it was a rigorous process with shortlisting, from the very healthy, positive response. And the interviews were conducted over a period of 7 days. So again, that's quite lengthy. It just, demonstrates how the process was quite rigorous and detailed. And at the conclusion of the process, 15 judges, 26 magistrates and 3 registrars were appointed to the Sikh court. So again, like any other recruitment process, people were just not plucked and selected in
Can
that
I just
way.
add, in terms of someone saying that, you know, it was a very quick turnaround, जिन्ना ने करना उन्होंने
ਉਹਨੇ ਕਰ ਹੀ
करना
ਲੈਣਾ ਆ ਕੰਮ
ਤੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ
ਹਨਾ?
ਬਹਾਨੇ ਲੱਭਣੇ ਆ
ਉਹਨਾਂ
ਤੇ ਖਿੱਚਣਾ
ਲੱਭੀ
ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ
ਜਾਣੇ ਆ।
ਥੱਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹਾਨੇ ਹੀ ਲੱਭਣੇ ਆ।
That's
Yeah.
true.
ਤਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ
Because you usually put your head down and just get on with it.
if anybody says this, you know, you were picking up from certain jathebandis or certain groups, can you say honestly that there were
Was
this
there
was a
anything-
transparent
I think
process?
Paji, you said earlier on, Hannah, that you saw on the day there was a really good mix. Everyone
well,
was there.
so that was
I
the
think
evidence.
that's the testament to what you've just asked.
No, that's absolutely that. I mean, it was a very. I mean, what was really great is that, you know, there wasn't even this discrimination between Amritari and non-Amritari.
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀਗਾ
Everybody was
ਬਹੁਤ
there
ਖੁਸ਼ੀ
together
ਸੀਗੀ
as
ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ।
one, which was really powerful. Yeah.
But that's, again, you know, a question that we were asked when we were setting up Tade Quinn, judges had Amritari lawyers, and I'm afraid we don't, not in the legal profession, not those that come out to do seva like this, right? So we did open the pool, not because we were told to, but we opened the pool because there are Sikhs at different stages of their Sikhi, and it would be wrong to apply one
Well, you've got to
person.
look at everything.
Absolutely.
That's one thing.
So again, it's all about court service and court users. So we need to make sure that we have judges that reflect. As again, judges in the English courts don't reflect society because you know there's only 3 or 4 people of ethnic minorities in High Court or above. Similarly, in this court structure, we have to make sure we represent the society it's serving, which isn't just Amritaris.
It's a big responsibility.
And the magistrates, you know, being recruited from real diverse, in terms of professional
I mean, that's the way it should be.
experiences, and that's how it should be. You know, bringing in the sort of multidisciplinary knowledge and understanding and expertise.
Baldeep, so what roles training ਕਿਹੜੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ and the receiving of this
And what roles will the magistrates and the judges play? What is the distinction between the two?
So both the magistrates and judges have had training already in respect of mediation and techniques for it, judgecraft, how to write judgments, how to write mediation settlement agreements. They've had training on how to deal with difficult people in a court setting. So they've already had a lot of training, and we're only halfway through. The plan is to launch the course by the 1st of June, so we've still got half the training left for the judges, including going through the rules. So they've had extensive training, despite already being very qualified generally. And the experience that they bring to it. The role's very distinctive. So straightforward cases must go to a magistrate first. Even in the English courts, every case goes to the magistrate bench unless it's deemed unsuitable, in which case it goes to a district judge or a circuit judge or above. Similarly here, all cases go to a magistrate first. They'll try and do some jota, they'll try and come to an agreement, they'll help encourage parties to come to a settlement. That will be written out for them. That this is what we've settled. And any matters that remain in dispute, that obviously requires legal knowledge. So that requires a written judgment, an arbitration award, that will be done by one of our judges who are legally qualified, solicitors and barristers.
Okay, so just one other thing on that one. I mean, this isn't going to be a physical court, it's going to be a virtual court, that's right?
Well, it's a virtual court in that it doesn't have bricks and mortar, but we do sit in person. So if there's a dispute, we can deal with them at various godware, wherever it might be. So it's a travelling court.
Okay, but the other thing is this, in terms of the structure, just like we have, say, you know, Walsall, we've got courts in Walsall, we've got in Wolverhampton, Leicester, Bradford, London. Will you have a similar kind of kind of allocation across the country, so that if there's a case, say in Bradford, then you will have magistrates and judges in Bradford?
Well, we've got, for example, we've got judges and magistrates from England, Wales and Scotland.
Of course,
and even England, from South Shields all the way down to Southampton. So we've got a vast spectrum, and we've got a huge number in terms of judiciary. Of course, there's conflict checks. So if, for example, the magistrate or judge knew the individual's concern, they can't hear the matter. So it might be that if there's, for example, a Godra dispute, the magistrate or judge there wouldn't be appropriate to hear that dispute. Because people have to have confidence in impartiality.
The magistrate themselves would have to declare a conflict of interest. And then with
but also the parties can raise any disputes too.
Right.
So if they
we
know
have
the
all the
individual.
क्योंकि देखो, everybody, Sikh, it was a small community, everybody knows everybody else.
Yeah.
ਤੇ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਸ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਿਫਾਰਸ਼ੀ ਕਰ ਕੇ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਿਰਪੱਖ ਮੇਰੇ ਲਈ ਹੋਣਾ ਔਖਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਕੱਢ ਲੈਣਾ ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਹੋਣ ਉਹ ਨਿਰਪੱਖ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਨਿਭਾਉਣ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਆ ਕਰਕੇ ਟਰਸਟ ਤਾਂ ਫਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਾਲਾ ਹਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਵੇ ਇੱਥੇ
any role you play in your profession you're not allowed to ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਆ you're not allowed to
they're all professionals as well so they have that code of ethics
we've got all got our
to
code of
someone
conduct
else.
we'll apply our bar code of conduct listeners will apply their code of conduct and all the other professionals that we've got have their NHS and their academic
and I think
the
that's the key
institutions.
word here, professional. You know, it is a profession.
That's right.
And just coming, I'm adding on to that as well. So the court, like any other organisation, will have its policies and procedures. The conflict of interest that you mentioned, that can be applied by the judicial team, but also the applicants as well. And there will be other policies like any other organisations which the court and the team will abide by.
ਬਰਿੰਦਰ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸੋ ਕਿਹੜੇ what type of cases ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਸੀ ਕੋਰਟ ਹੈਂਡਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ
ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਵਲ ਡਿਸਪਿਊਟਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਹਨਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀ we don't do anything where the police are involved or any criminal cases it's all civil disputes I think we will be doing a lot of family cases ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ divorcing party ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਾਂ divorce ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ legal process ਆ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ through the digital court procedure ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਫਾਈਨਾਂਸਿਸ ਦੀ ਸੈਟਲਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਕੇਸ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੀਡੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸਿਸਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਅਰੇਂਜਮੈਂਟਸ ਲਿਵ ਵਿਦ ਆਰਡਰਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਹਨਾ ਤਾਂ
ਇਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਡਿਵੋਰਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਖਰਚੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਰੌਲਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਇੰਨਾ ਖਰਚ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ could you go in there and help them to work out the no or is
we can only deal with matters that can be enforced in the English courts
the legal foundation
I'm just going to pause you for a minute we've got a call Benji Manjinder Pal call is on the call but Benji ji ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
so ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸ ਦਵਾਂ ਵੀ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ she's also one of the judges in the Sikh court and she's the international legal director for United Sikhs. So Panji, you were there at the launch and you've been listening to what people what is your vision for this court? What is your aspiration for this court?
ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਥਾਪਨਾ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੀ
ਜੀ
ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਾਂਗੀ ਬਰਕਤ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਅਵਸਥਾ 'ਚ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਡਾਊਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਅਪਰੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਮੰਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕੌਮ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਥ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਮਰਪਿਤ ਹਾਂ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕੋਰਟ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੌਕਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਰਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਤੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਅਸੀਸਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਪੂਰਨ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ ਇਸ ਸੇਵਾ ਨੂੰ ਸੋ ਮੇਰੀ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਸੋਚ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ 20 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਸੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਆਈ ਹਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ ਵੇਖਣ 'ਚ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਲੋਕੀ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕੋਰਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਰੋਲਦੇ ਨੇ
ਜੀ ਤੇ
ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕੋਰਟ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਨੂੰ ਦੂਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ so let's give it a chance is a mild word let's give it all our support ਮੈਂ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੀ ਪੰਥਿਕ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਬਾਬਾ ਗਰਜਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੇ ਬੋਤਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਮੁਗਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਲਟ ਇੱਕ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਕੌਣ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਉਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਉਸੇ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੋਰਟ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਰਸਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਆਈਏ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਈਏ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਫਲ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ
ਜੀ।
ਓਕੇ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ, ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ। ਐਂਡ ਵੀ ਵਿਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਲਿਆਉਂਗੇ ਆਪਾਂ, ਯੂ ਨੋ ਵੀਲ ਕੀਪ ਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰੈਸ, ਵੀਲ ਕੀਪ ਵਾਚਿੰਗ ਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰੈਸ। And you were saying about the enforcement.
Yes.
How are you going to get these judgments enforced?
Well, first of all, as I said, there's certain things that we still have to do in the English courts. So if somebody wants a divorce, they will still have to go through the digital procedure to obtain a divorce. ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ court ਦੀ assistance finances ਦੇ case ਹੋਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦਾ case ਹੋਵੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ assist ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। First it will be dealt with by mediation. For ਜਿਹੜੇ areas nahi agree hunde, those will be heard by a judge, and the framework of the court is MEDARB, as we've said, and it's the Arbitration Act 1996. That ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, you have to agree ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ we're going to accept the decision of the court, and arbitration is legally binding.
So they have to sign.
Hanji. Hanji, of a legally binding process, and it is recognised in the English legal system, and the arbitration award has to be accepted by the parties. So it could be a decision in relation to the children, or it could be finances, be property किद्दां divide होनी आ। फिर ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ decision ਬਣ ਗਿਆ, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ for example family case ਆ, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ convert ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ into a legally binding order, ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ court ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ clean break order ਲੈਣਾ ਹੈ, so we have to put an application in for that. ਫਿਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ negotiation...
Let me so say somebody agrees to that, sign ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ two parties, okay? And then you have to make an application for that to become legally...
No, so... When a party signs up to the Sikh court and its procedure, they sign the MEDARB agreement at the start. That forms part of the application. They are then bound for the whole procedure. Okay, the decision that comes at the end, of course, we encourage settlement at the start. That's what the magistrates are there for. And if they can't agree how to settle the matter, the remaining issues are determined by the judge. And that judge will give an arbitration decision which can only be appealed in the English court. So the English courts will not touch that decision. They are happy with it unless there are some very limited circumstances that the English court will overturn an arbitration decision. So people, that is binding, that
really
decision is.
So ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਹਲਕਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ, ਜੇ ਦੋ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੋ ਕਮੇਟੀਆਂ ਹੋਣ, ਜਿਹਦਾ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਦਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਆਉਣ ਵੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਸੁਲਹ ਸਲਾਹ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ, ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਈਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ, ਦੋਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਗਰੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਜਜਮੈਂਟ ਹੋਗੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਕਸੈਪਟ ਕਰੂਗੇ। ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਸੇਮ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਰਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਈਨ ਕਰਤਾ। That's the key thing, isn't it?
Well, the key thing is that you can only appeal it in certain circumstances, very limited circumstances, because the Arbitration Act, जो government ने बनाया सीगा, what they don't want is someone having two bites at the cherry. कि एक Sikh court ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਰ ਗਏ, ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ English court ਚੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ। That's not the purpose.
So that potentially gives it quite a lot of powers in that sense.
Of course it does.
Yeah, so that's really good. So let's just kind of go, Shan, I'm going to come to you now. Again, some of the concerns that have been expressed. There's one concern, and I think that partly why people express this concern because they've got one eye on some of the criticism of the Sharia courts, which is they tend to be male-dominated. They tend to put pressure on the female. It's a bit like in ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਜ਼ਮਾਨੇ 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੁੜੀ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਤੇ ਤੀਵੀਂ ਆਦਮੀ ਆਸ ਵੀ ਅਣਬਣ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸਹੁਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਆਓ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਆਓ, ਪਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਸਾਰੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਤੇ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ। ਕਦੇ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਗਰੂ ਕੋਰਟ ਜੀ ਬਣ ਜਾਵੇ, you know, male-dominated kangaroo court.
So I think, as you mentioned, I think Vice of yourself, and there is a greater percentage of judicial team that is female.
Yeah.
So it has been acknowledged and noted, 70%. So you've acknowledged that, and it's visible. I think it was visible on the day. But also, we mentioned on the safeguarding issues previously. Jithe safeguarding the issue, utthe right and wrong is quite clear. So the court has the duty to protect the vulnerable. ਸੋ ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਜਣੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣਨੀ ਹੈ because we are there to
ਯਾਨੀ
help
ਦੋਨਾਂ ਧਿਰਾਂ ਦੀ
them reach
So if you think that
resolution.
one of them says, it could be a male,
But pressure भी
but it's
पाया
usually
जाता है
female.
ना?
What
Yeah.
if you feel in the arbitration process that that person is under duress or has you feel uncomfortable there?
So
we'll have-
arbitration process will be the
Yeah.
judge's
Okay,
The pressure
yeah.
goes on the woman more.
So in terms of the mediation, there's all sorts of special measures that we apply in English
Yeah.
courts that we
Yeah.
can put into place similarly in the arbitration aspect of any decision making. So if at any point you feel that someone is uncomfortable,
Yeah.
you will ask how you can make them comfortable so they can give their best evidence. Okay? So that might be, for example, a separate room. So she may feel comfortable waiting in
To express
another
her.
room, and we can try shuttle mediation, which is, you know, the magistrate will go into that room, go into that room. And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I was in court 5-6 years ago where I was in a contested divorce. Okay, the husband didn't want a divorce and the wife did.
Yeah.
Sang Singani Amritari. Okay, and he wasn't represented. She was. I was representing her in court, and I said, you know, tell me, what is the actual issue?
Yeah.
What's the reason? Because it's not quite clear on the application form. And she said, well, when he goes to shower, he leaves his wet kashera in the bathtub. And I said, okay. And how does that make you feel? She goes, well, you know.
You should send me to the punch building.
He leaves his wet kashera in the bathtub and I can't deal with it anymore. I'm not his mum. His mum picks up the wet kashera from the bathtub and she deals with it.
Right.
So I went to him and I said, Paisa, what's going on? And luckily he wasn't represented, so I was able to speak to him directly. And he said, you know, my mum's done it. I've been Amritari since I was a kid. She's done it all my life and she continues to do it. I've just never seen it as an issue.
Yeah.
I went back to the wife and I said, you know, well, you know, this is what he says. How can we come to some sort of, you know, sulah in this particular
Compromise.
situation?
Yeah.
She said, well, actually, you know, I just feel like my privacy is being breached. There's no lock on the bedroom door.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law walks in. She
Yeah.
goes into our private ensuite bathroom where my personal belongings are, for example. She goes, my privacy has been invaded.
Yeah.
I went back into the room with the seng and I said,
You
can we get a lock on the
boundaries.
door? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we have a family group conference between you, your mum and her and see
Like
whether
a
they're...
family
Yeah,
conference. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
great.
And long story short, they both agreed. They actually adjourned the divorce for that hearing. So we asked for an adjournment on the day. And they're actually still married and they've got 3 kids.
Well, that's good.
So
That's like
so
a
the
minor
husband's
issue.
he's not only washing his clean, he's actually ironing his own shirt. but seriously, I mean that's quite an intimate kind of detail.
Of course,
stuff.
yeah.
I mean you're going to.
But that I raised that point because earlier you said you'd usually bring in the parents to try and
Yeah,
resolve
yeah.
something.
Oh,
or
understand.
bring in the
Yeah,
bacholle.
okay, yeah.
How do you have that discussion with the
Yeah,
bacholle and your
there's a
parents
kind
there?
of-
Makes
but
sense.
on that one, I mean, I'm actually looking forward to reading some of these judgments in future. But there'll be some very interesting. But how are you going to record? I mean, they're going to be obviously anonymised. I mean, how?
So the family court decisions...
will they be put on the website?
No, the family mediation arbitration is totally confidential.
Confidential?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
great. That's
Okay.
what we
But that's
need, yeah.
what the law requires us
Should
to
be
do.
anyway,
Hannah?
yeah.
So you'll just be recording judgments?
Yeah, and that's for the parties so they can keep it. It's not for the armed sangat to look at and prying to people's
So ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ
business.
confidential ਹੋਣਾ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਸੋਚਣ ਵੀ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਤੇ ਪਾ
ਸਾਰੀ
ਰਹੀ ਹੈ
ਦੁਨੀਆ
Just
ਨੂੰ
Quite
touching
the
on
opposite.
that, Hannah, so
Yeah.
touching on the confidentiality aspect of it, there is a confidentiality as a policy, and everyone will be, will be abiding by it. So ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਬਲਦੀਪ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ touch ਕੀਤਾ, like ਇਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ application parties ਨੇ ਪਾਈ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, and then when the court has sort of given a judgment or a resolution has been reached, that everyone will come to
Okay.
find
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That quite the opposite of that. It's personal matter. You will receive the outcome of the mediation process or the arbitration process. ਉਹ confidential ਰਹਿਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ.
ਕੁਸ਼ਨ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਲਵਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ because we've talked about the different kind of cases, but what about issues to do with adultery, drugs, alcohol, even budget kareta ਜਿੱਦਾਂ
4 I mean, can somebody go to the court say मेरा आदमी अमरधारी हैगा ये शराब पींदा है भी ਇਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਠੀਕ ਕਰੋ
ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ ਨਾ it's not a religious court at all so ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬਜਰ ਕੁਰੈਤ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ that's the explicit exclusion criteria for the Sikh court and that must be presented to the Panj Pyare as you normally would if this court was not in existence ਤੇ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ adultery ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ issues ਕੁਰੈਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਪੰਜ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੀ remit ਆ and drugs again if it's non ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਲੋ ਕੁਰੈਤ issue ਹੈ ਨਾ and both parties see the merit and value in presenting to the Sikh court because another earlier jada gal kiti sigi ki the key principle is that both parties must agree for the application hai na to be submitted je ek ne nahi agree kita ek ne sign nahi kite hage oh process shuru hi nahi hona hega.
So can I just add on to that actually? So one of the things that we do in the English courts is direct parties to attend courses. We've got about 10-15 different courses by Sikh charities, Share Charity, various other, alcohol-free Sikhs and all those kind of charities. So they're all very much involved in putting on these courses as you would be directed in English courts, but in delivering them in
Punjabi. Could that be part of a judgment?
It certainly can, yes. So you can ask a party to say, for example,
anger
management course, the fraud awareness course, those kind of things. So you can direct a party to
how to wash your kashera courses.
Yeah. Are you offering to do a course?
We'll do a special program on that one. Yeah.
So it's really important that we give people the tools to try and resolve their own issues. People don't like to be told what to do. People don't like to go to court because the judge is going to tell them what to do. So that's the magic of having mediators at the start of magistrates.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਣਬਣ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ there's lots of ਗੁੱਸਾ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ jealousy ਇੱਥੇ ਨਿਮਰਤਾ you can only really get benefit ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਿਮਰਤਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਉਣੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਔਰ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਿਮਰਤਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਓ ਇੱਥੇ
we started off
ਸਭ ਕੋ ਭੁੱਲ ਕਰਤਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੰਨੋ ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਮਨਾਵੋ.
Well, isn't that Sikh principles?
ਸਿੱਖੀ ਆ ਨਾ
that's Sikh principles. But I think what we were seeing, and we started off with a very key focus on family law issues. I think, having done family law in Brindipal, that we've seen that the most significant issues stem from what's going on in the household. So jad ghar bar vich ladai jhagda hunda hai, it impacts people and the way that they present in the community externally as well. Whether it's a pradhan with too much ego or anger, or whether it's other issues displayed in a workplace. So if we can resolve issues and help people resolve issues in their family and make it more happier and healthier.
So we are coming to the end. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I think we have touched because we don't want to overload. We will come back to you, but just finally, we've got a couple of areas.
ਦਲਵੀਰ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਲਵੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੋਕ ਬਾਰੇ
obviously we're doing this today. This is the beginning, isn't it?
So important to maximize awareness ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੋਡ first of all ਸਿੱਖ ਕੋਡ ਦਾ vision ਕੀ ਹੈ purpose ਕੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਦਾ structure so the court leadership team will conduct regional meetings with gurdwaras across England in the north, in the south and the Midlands, as well as in the devolved nations Scotland and Wales in the coming months. So in addition to that, the judicial team members will also hold local meetings with Gurdwara committees. But this is really important. Gurdwara is where we have the collective Sangat and our Gurdwara committee members, and also use community events and we're very good at having community events and it's really good to tap into that and maximize that
to reach out
to reach out to disseminate and to inform the Sikh community of the Sikh court, its purpose, its vision, its structure and how to use it so people can actually feel
they can have access to
brilliant. Baldeep, I mean, this feels like an awful lot of work. I mean, you're almost, setting up a whole infrastructure there. Where are you going to get the resources from? I mean, is there any money behind this, or is it just purely voluntary?
I think money is used as a barrier for development. You know, these kind of things don't need money. You know, it
But
needs
will
an
all these
idea.
lawyers give up their precious time for this?
There are application
Quality time,
fees,
yeah.
but they're relatively low and quite insignificant compared to, you know, an average divorce case for child arrangements will cost each party anywhere between £30,000 to £60,000 per party. You know, we're charging a couple of £100 for an application
And that's
fee.
for the administration?
That's the admin, yes, and that will pay for sitting days for judges as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really
is great
important. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਦੀ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਹੈ. In fact, they'll be saving the community a lot of money as well. So Abba, we're going to just finish off now. Maybe give each one of you a chance to final thoughts. Baldeep, I'm going to start with you and say, you know, if we were looking to 5 years from now, what is your hope for where this court might be in 5 years?
Well, I hope to have diminished any of the skeptics out there that are saying either that we're doing it for bump or we're doing it for alternative motives. So I hope those are extinguished by then, and that the proof is in the pudding. People were sceptical when we set up Sikhs in Law, and you know, Sikhs in Law is doing some amazing, beautiful work for the Sikh community, you know, and wider.
And that we have maybe similar structures across the world, because I know that there's interest already from America, from Australia, Malaysia, Singapore.
Certainly, I hope to sort of have this trial out, and then we sort of reassess in 18 months' time to see how many cases we've done, what we've done, and the results of them.
Gulshan, any final thoughts?
I would just like to add, I think hopefully my vision is that, and the court's vision is that we will protect and save the mental health of our future generation, because we know when a family goes through divorce and separation, the long-term impact, finances and everything else aside, the longer-term impact on the family and the children is devastating.
And sadly, divorce rates are now
And I can
very high,
say this from experience, you know? So actually the long-term impact will be in 5 years' time, we will have saved hopefully a greater percentage of our community members, our future generations' mental health.
Absolutely, Brinda, any final thoughts?
I just wanted to touch upon the fact that people need to recognise that this is a professional court, and the magistrates, they're all professionals in their own careers and occupations, and the judges are all legally trained. And I think another thing some of the users may worry about is, we don't want them to find out about what's going on in our house or our family, but they will have the option to say if they know any of the magistrates and judges, so they can decline the involvement of that particular court professional, and as do the court, they'll have their own conflict checks. So whilst we have a duty of confidentiality, none of us will be dealing with the cases of people that we know.
That's absolutely,
and that is a worry in the community, because we don't want people to know.
And that's a general principle that all professionals adopt if they feel they're uncompromised, that they step aside.
Yes.
And there'll be a final way to see.
Yeah, finally, I just would like to say that, you know, my hope and my vision is that through this alternative dispute resolution, that we can bring our Sikh community, that's a fractured Sikh community, I'm sad to say, you know, together, and we can have ekta and oneness.
Yeah, absolutely. Manju?
I just want to say thank you very much for today, and I really enjoyed the dialogue, and it was really good. And I was saying, ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੁਬਦਾ ਨਾ ਮਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਆ, so ਮੈਂ ਵਿਊਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਦੁਬਦਾ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਹੋਣੀ ਆ, ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ. So I want to say thank you again.
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਨਿਗਾਹ ਰੱਖਣੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਬਣਦਾ
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ to scrutinize power, to speak truth to power. ਸੋ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਖਸ਼ਣਾ ਜੇ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੋ, ਜੇ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਬਖਸ਼ਣਾ, ਜਥੇਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਬਖਸ਼ਣਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਐਕਸਲੈਂਸ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਸੋ ਟੂ ਲੌਂਗ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਹਾਫ ਹਾਰਟਡ amateur ਆਪਾਂ ਚਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰੈਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਆ. 40 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆ ਜੋ ਆਪ ਐਤਕੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਮੈਮੋਰੇਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਕੁਛ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ. ਉਹ ਉਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਖੁਦ ਮੁਖਤਿਆਰੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ. ਤਾਂ ਚਲੋ ਭਾਰਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੁਦ ਮੁਖਤਿਆਰੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੈਗਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟ ਆ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਸੈਲਫ ਇੰਪਾਵਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਿੰਨੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਮਸਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਜਿੱਠਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਐਕਸਟਰਨਲ ਫੋਰਸਿਸ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ, ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਮਜ਼ੋਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਇਹ ਵੀਕਨੈਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ. ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਤਕੜੇ ਹੋਣਾ. We can solve our own problems, and we've got the intellect, we've got the professionals. And I think now we've got the willpower as well. So the channel will support them as well.
ਬਲਦੀਪ ਨੇ ਥੋੜੇ ਟਾਈਮ 'ਚ ਦੇਖ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਰੱਕੀਆਂ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਸੋ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ।
ਇਹ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਹਤ ਵੀ ਦੇਣੀ
ਪਰ support ਕਰਨੀ
support
ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ।
ਉਹੀ ਦੇਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਨਾ।
ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ
ਨੈਗੇਟਿਵ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਾਲਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ।
ਆਪਾਂ ਲੱਤਾਂ ਖਿੱਚਣ 'ਚ ਬੜੇ ਤੇਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਸੋ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰੀਏ ਸਕਰੂਟਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਗਾ ਸੋ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਟੂ ਬੈਰਿਸਟਰ ਬਲਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਬਰਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਦਲਵੀਰ ਕੌਰ ਐਂਡ ਗੁਰਸ਼ਰਨ ਕੌਰ ਤੇ ਆਲਸੋ ਤੇ ਮਨਜਿੰਦਰ ਪਾਲ ਹੋ ਰੰਗਨ ਸੋ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਜੁੜੋਗੇ ਬਹੁਤਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਭੁੱਲ ਚੁੱਕ ਮਾਫ ਕਰੋ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਜੀ।
ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਓ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ